Hi everyone, this is the video for your week 6.2 written assignment, responding to messages. So I want to go over the assignment with you and some of the things you have to do. The first thing is when we get through talking and me showing you the rubric, you need to download the following case study assignment document. The Your Task directions at the end of each case in the handout should be followed. Use the techniques you learned in the chapters for writing positive and negative messages. There are reference page numbers next to each task to assist you. There's also help with like goodwill message, note to Cecilia Tyson, 5S's, so here's some page numbers there. Can't refute, claim refusal, and here's some pages there. And direct requests, it looked like that there was numbers written off of here. Okay, so let's go ahead and open that, and I've already downloaded it. And here it is. All letters should be written in block style. Note the instructions in figure 8.1, page 247. You can see the block style attachment in the module 1. In the module, 1 inch equals 6 single space lines. Do not use a template. So goodwill message is pertaining to objective 5 on page 265, so you can find some help in there. When you were ill recently, your office colleague, Cecilia Tilley, filled in for you. She attended the Home Show Exposition in Chicago and made a presentation that you were scheduled to deliver. Apparently it went well because customers responded with orders for the new retractable awnings your company's promoting. Because both you and Cecilia are field agents and you rarely see each other, send her a note to her home. There's her home address. It says, although handwritten notes are impressive, you can key this one to show your instructor. Format for the letter is on page 266, figure 810. Okay, so your task in writing your thank you message, expressing your gratitude for Cecilia's favor. Note the example provided to you on page 266. You should use the 5 S's in your letter. Explain the importance of the receiver's gesture, and reemphasize the purpose of your letter to her, that because both you and Cecilia are field agents and rarely see each other in the office, send a note to her home. The next one is a claim refusal. Can't evict the tenant. Note the checklist on page 265 and objective 3 on page 257. As the owner of Prairie State Business Plaza, you must respond to the request of Miles Jordan. One of the tenants in your 2-story office building, Mr. Jordan, a financial planner, begs you to evict a neighboring tenant who plays loud music throughout the day, interfering with Mr. Jordan's conversations with clients and with his concentration. The noisy tenant, Brody Bates, seems to operate an entertainment booking agency and spends long hours in his office. Note that you can't evict Mr. Bates because as a legal commercial tenant, he is entitled to conduct his business. You might consider moving him to a different office if he's willing. Another possibility is adding soundproofing, an expense that you would prefer to share with Mr. Bates and Mr. Jordan. You might also discuss limiting the time of day for his noise making. When you search the web for information about commercial eviction, you learn that you have very few options. The format of your letter should contain the following. Begin with a buffer. Do a soft transition from the buffer. Satisfactory explanation of why you're writing. Suggest a compromise or an alternative. Probably the soundproofing would be better. Soft language, a pleasant closing, and be mindful of grammar and spelling. Okay, your task, decide what to do, then write to Mr. Jordan denying his request, but strive to retain his goodwill. He's still a client. Tell him how you plan to resolve the problem. And there's the address to send it to. Direct request letter, too many resumes. Do not use a memo format. Your company's overwhelmed with resumes for advertised positions. You should note the following. Director of Human Resources asks you to begin investigating resume scanning software. She does not want a visit from a software salesperson until she knows more about the possibilities. You're to compose a form letter that can be sent to different software vendors asking for information. This is what you need. You need to know whether their software can identify job-specific knowledge and experience. One problem the company has is it has to do with inappropriate information being submitted by job candidates. You don't want to know the applicant's race or age. That is illegal. How does the software avoid displaying such information if the applicant includes it? That's a question to ask from the vendor. What about references? This area would seem to need fields available for customization. Does the system rank the resumes according to the job skills and experience required? You'd really like a system that when you find a great resume, moves it up to the top of the list and perhaps even has a more like this function. So when you write your letter and you have all that in there, prepare a letter that can be used to send to a number of resume software vendors. Remember that you want answers, not a visit from a salesperson or a URL. Use your imagination to ask open-ended questions that elicit effective feedback from the vendor. Decide how you want the receiver to respond and by when. Remember, in my lecture, I told you you have to have deadline dates. How can you make it easy for the receiver to respond? Assume you're writing on company letterhead. Use block style and the current date. And place the date 2 inches from the top. Note 1 inch equals 6 space lines, single space lines. Okay? The next one, bad news to customers. A typhoon disrupts a cruise ship adjustment message. Objective 4. 2 late-season typhoons severely disrupted a cruise of the Diamond Princess, 2,600-passenger cruise ship, on a 16-night voyage with scheduled stops in Singapore, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and other Asian ports. It had to cancel protocols in Vietnam, Okinawa, and Taipei. Many passengers protested that the ship could chart a path around the storm. In fact, one attorney got into a shouting match with the captain and demanded to show the captain how to navigate around the storm. As the ship approached its final port near Beijing, a few customers threatened to barricade themselves in their staterooms unless they got $1,000 in ship credit and a future free cruise. Resistance collapsed when the captain noted that Beijing police would probably not be in the mood for negotiation. A spokesperson for the cruise line said she understood how disappointed passengers were at missing some ports. But in the end, it's all about passenger safety. So, to try to make angry passengers happy, ship personnel authorized a $250 credit for each passenger toward onboard spending. Still unhappy, many returning passengers wrote letters to the ship's owner demanding a full refund. And in my lecture in the book, it talks about how you really shouldn't demand anything because you're really not going to get very far when you do that. So your task, write a form letter that can be used to respond to unhappy passengers. Address the first letter to Mrs. Erica Evander, and there's her address. Fact of the matter is the cruise line flatly refused to refund any payments, but it would give a 50% discount on a future cruise. Note the checklist on page 265 for additional assistance. And that's the box up at the top of the page. Use block style, type your name in with an appropriate title, letter format page 247. Okay? So that's it. That's all you have to do. Just write 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 letters. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Bye-bye.